calling it Cardano in Africa, Meet the Builders, because we have some non-IO people here to tell us about what they've been doing. So first of all, guys, thank you very much for coming down to Edinburgh. I know it's pretty cold out here, so we appreciate it. We were actually going to organize this for the Bahamas, but we had some undesirables there ruining it for us. All right, so first of all, guys, maybe if you can each take 2 minutes to tell us a little bit more about, first of all, who you are and also the companies that you represent. So why don't we start with you, Robert?
Sure, thanks, John. I'm Robert Magembe. I'm VP of Country Operations for World Mobile. And World Mobile essentially is a mobile network that we've built on the Cardano chain. And we use dynamic network and other technologies to connect the unconnected and reach areas which traditional networks don't reach or don't want to go.
And the first country which you guys in your community know about very well is actually it's Tanzania, and more specifically Zanzibar.
Yeah.
So maybe you can tell us a little bit about your launch plans for Zanzibar.
Yeah, sure. So we've launched in Zanzibar. We have about 125 nodes up. We've connected the people there. Currently, it's a free internet, and by end of the year, we'll start billing the users. Yeah, and it's going very well. We've got big plans.
Fantastic. And now on to you, Guy. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and Immunify.Life?
Yeah, thanks very much for this opportunity. Apologise about my voice, a bit husky today, but I've just got off a 30-hour flight from Australia, so I'm a little bit tired. I'm the founder of Immunify.Life. We're a healthcare blockchain-focused company, and our goal is to use blockchain technology to address some of the world's biggest health issues. And by that I mean HIV, malaria, tuberculosis, opioid addiction. So we've been active in Africa, and we're in a couple of countries already.
Perfect. And last but not least, Glenn, you're here to tell us a little bit about Empower.
Yeah, thanks, John. So my name's Glenn Jordan, co-founder of Empower, and we provide affordable funding for climate-smart housing in Africa. There's a backlog of 50 million homes in Africa, and we're utilizing the blockchain to overcome the dysfunctional financial system.
Fantastic. So I'm sure a lot of people in the Cardano community have heard this phrase, RealFi. So RealFi is a word that I coined when I wrote a blog post, and no one in IO really knew what I was talking about. And then Charles started using the word, and it got way more complicated. So these guys are all what I think within the Cardano community, you guys are self-branding as RealFi companies. So maybe we can start with you, Glenn. You can tell us a little bit more about what RealFi means to you and how it impacts on your business.
Sure, thanks. The whole thing around it, as I mentioned, around the dysfunctional financial systems, we've launched in Mozambique, a country of 30 million people. To give you a sense of that, there's 600 mortgages. 600 mortgages in a country of 30 million people. That gives you a sense of the dysfunction of the financial systems. And we are utilizing the blockchain to overcome that dysfunction, to enable funding where there is capital, to flow to where it's required, and back again in a sustainable manner.
I wish I'd written that, actually. It's a lot clearer than what I've been talking about. So, Guy, please, your turn.
Yeah, well, in my mind, RealFi can apply to very basic levels. So at the first level, I look at it as we are on an authentic project. We're actually really in the real world. This is not a theoretical concept. This is actually making a difference to people's lives. And the way we are doing it is we're offering cryptocurrency rewards to individuals who are prepared to share their medical data. So we are giving people who might earn $2 to $3 a day the opportunity to profit from the value that's inherently sitting in their medical data.
Right. And on to yourself, Robert.
Yeah, so we are providing digital asset owners an opportunity to own part of our infrastructure. So when our users use our infrastructure, like I mentioned, the air nodes we have in Zanzibar, the digital asset owners can then earn from it. At the same time, we are launching value-added services. Now, that's what speaks to the real people on the ground by giving them some financial services that they could use and a host of other value-added services.
So one of the things which I think is so fantastic about Cardano is the appetite in our community to talk about real-world projects, to talk about projects that have a social good. So, what I'd hope is obviously that in your interactions with our community, these have been sort of productive and supportive. So yeah, Glenn, tell us a little bit about your experience interacting with the Cardano community and launching Empower on it.
Well, we're very grateful to the Cardano community. I think being African, to actually put our hands up and look for an entire community, an ecosystem that is completely supportive of Africa, for us was hugely beneficial. We're also a function of Catalyst. Our first funding we got through Catalyst, which was, we got some blowback in terms of putting housing on the ground, but it was part of the demonstration of the RealFi, being able to demonstrate both the tech and on the ability to deliver on the ground. So for us, that's been fantastic. The next phase, we went to the community. They bought NFTs, which provided the funding for the housing. So they've supported us in the entire journey, enabled us to get going, enabled us to prove these concepts. So it's been a fantastic and supportive community.
Didn't you meet your co-founder actually on Catalyst?
Correct. Yeah.
So how did that happen?
That was lockdown. He was sitting in Australia, I was sitting in Amsterdam, and we got connected. I thought there might be something in this Cardano thing. I knew nothing about it. I put my hand up and said, listen, I need some help here. Can somebody help me? He was sitting in Perth. He put his hand up. He said, yeah, I'm sure we can do something. And the rest, as they say, is history.
That's fantastic. So actually, whilst the community is amazing, building is hard, and sometimes having the right tooling or the ability to sort of easily figure out how you're meant to build stuff can be challenging. So maybe I'll ask you, Guy, what have been some of the challenges you faced building on Cardano, and maybe any suggestions for how we can improve things going forward?
Well, I should say it's very early days for us. We're really in our test environment at the moment. But we really like the idea that Cardano promises speed of transactions, low cost, flexibility, and that's something that's critical to us. Imagine we're building a healthcare database where we might have thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of transactions every hour, every second eventually. So to have a blockchain that promises a functionality that can deliver that is very, very important to us. We also really like the philosophical alignment, and we're a healthcare company, so to have an organisation that really stresses academic, scientific validation of its transactions and the security, that was a really important decision for us as well.
So, Robert, you guys are obviously now at deployment stage for Well Mobile,
Yep.
and I think, as we all know, that deploying things in the real world can be challenging.
Yeah.
So what have been some of the challenges you guys have faced as you try to actually provide internet to people?
Yeah, I think it's time, really, because we are building a mobile network across multiple countries. So just give an example, in Tanzania and Zanzibar, we've had to really work with a lot of stakeholders just to bring everyone together. There's an education element of it. Frameworks need to be built so that they totally understand what we're trying to do. They've been great, and we just work very well with them, but time is the biggest one. There's a lot of waiting, a lot of moving parts to do. So yeah, that's the biggest challenge.
So for the people who aren't super familiar with Well Mobile, there was a project called Google Loon, which aimed to use Zeppelins, and you've probably got the more technical terminology, but big-ass balloons to deliver internet, actually originally in Kenya. So you guys have taken this technology and innovated on it, I believe.
Yes.
Tell us more about your balloons.
Yeah, so we have what is known an aerostat. So this is a tethered balloon that will be in Zanzibar, flying about 300 meters. And then there's a payload where we're going to put the communication equipment on there. So we are looking to launch that before Christmas, once everything is aligned.
Perfect. So Glenn, maybe you can tell me a little bit more about the other projects on Cardano that you're seeing that excite you.
Well, for us, World Mobile, we partnered with World Mobile in Mozambique with our first development. So not only providing affordable housing, but also working on providing affordable internet, as a key kind of human right. So for us, that's been a fantastic partnership, and we collabed on the NFTs. So working together with them, we've also worked with NFT Maker. in terms of the creation of the NFTs. So we're really excited about those projects that have enabled us, obviously, and supported us in terms of achieving our objectives.
So I think everyone in crypto is probably talking about both FTX and also bear market dynamics. As CEOs, founders, and leaders of your respective business, I want to talk a little bit about the sort of plans and the thought processes you guys make over sustaining your businesses and maybe any tactics or strategies that you guys are thinking about to sort of make sure that you can run through this period. So why don't we go to you, Guy?
Yes, well, look, there's no doubt that the FTX issue is created a bit of a headwind and a negative environment at the moment. But our belief is sticking to the fundamentals about what we're trying to achieve. Our vision is to deliver meaningful change in healthcare, and we're really focusing on delivering on-the-ground real projects. So the study we're doing in HIV in Kenya is a world first, where we're using cryptocurrency rewards to encourage people who've lapsed on therapy to get them back on treatment. And we believe that when you can show credible advantages and developments where you're using blockchain technology and cryptocurrency rewards to make a real difference, that will surpass any of the cryptocurrency fluctuations, you know, these problems that we see from time to time, by delivering real and substantial change. So that's our philosophy, really.
So Glenn, aside from the financing component for the mortgages which you're looking to provide in Mozambique, you guys are actually doing the houses as well. I've seen some fantastic photos on crypto Twitter about houses that you guys have already built. So tell me everything.
So yeah, we're not actually building the houses, but we support, and that's why it's Empower, because it's all around building from the bottom up.
Right.
So we support developers on the ground. What we are doing is advocating climate smart. So the whole thing around it is driving the environmental agenda, which is obviously vitally important, because if we build the 50 million homes that are required in the same way that they've been built historically, we're going to absolutely trash the environment. So that's not an option. So we're driving that agenda, and we've been working so that what you've seen is we built the first affordable hemp house, supported the building of that, we financed that. Together with the Dutch government, that was a co-funded project with them. So we're really driving the environmental agenda and driving that process. And I think to the point around our current situation in terms of the headwinds, I think we're quite excited from the point of view of, we believe that RealFi is the real opportunity in this space, because people pay for housing. They're paying their mortgages, they're paying the lease to owns, they are paying its real world value and real world finances, and we're using the technology to overcome the challenges that historically have created this. So for us, it's actually an exciting use of the technology, and the stuff that's happening around the To the Moon Boys, Lambo stuff, that's noise for us. That's what's really exciting for us, is that this gives us an opportunity to actually build these foundations, build these platforms, and really roll it out.
I'm not sure the roads in Mozambique are good enough for Lamborghinis, so it's less relevant in our part of the world.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So aside from the cryptocurrency liquidity, which you're hoping to bring on to finance all of these housing developments, is there a place within the Empower model also for institutional finance?
Absolutely. So exactly that. We're seeking to utilize these tools and technologies to enable funding to be sourced from whichever source, and to be able to flow down and back up in a way that can be measured, can be validated, and can be secured, and overcome the risks that are generally associated with this kind of investment.
So actually, this leads me on to the World Mobile example. So you guys have big plans. You call yourself World Mobile, not Africa Mobile. So how do you go about starting to provide the infrastructure finance needed to build out even lower cost technologies that you're using? They're still expensive in aggregate. So how do you start to finance a global disruption model for telecommunications?
Yeah, so we've got some strategies around where with the air nodes that we're building and the other components that we're building, that we can get the community to then purchase our infrastructure. So that's one strategy that we are employing at the moment.
Is there a space also for World Bank, more traditional infrastructure financiers to also participate?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just a matter of having those conversations and trying to find that common ground to do that.
So let's say that your balloon goes up in Zanzibar over the next few months. What are the next steps for you guys?
So, I mean, for a balloon really is also just to demonstrate that this technology can really work. There are a few countries that we're strategically looking at into going into where this technology will really be relevant. And we have another launch we're looking to do in the States as well to demonstrate the same technology next year.
And what about for yourself, Guy? I mean, what are your roadmap milestones?
Well, I mean, we've got a huge, ambitious goal. We're trying to address some of the world's biggest healthcare issues. So we're starting small. We've got the HIV study in Kenya. Once we get that proof concept, then we want to partner with NGOs and governments to expand the footprint of our work in HIV. We're also doing work in Zambia with vaccinations, with government clinics there. And so that is capturing vaccination data and creating certificates so that you can address fake vaccines, fake vaccinations, and managing that vaccination process. And again, once we've got the proof, we've demonstrated that successfully in the field, then we can expand it. We're also looking at opioid addiction in New Mexico as well.
So I've got an open-ended question, so one of you guys can raise your hands for it. But obviously, we're starting to talk a lot more about regulation in crypto. You know, post-FTX style debacles. I think everyone recognizes that, at least driven by the United States, we're starting to see a lot more interest in the activities which are happening. One of the things about all of your projects is that they interact with the real world on a very intrinsic level. So do you guys have concerns, hopes, aspirations over future regulatory environments for your kind of businesses?
I mean, it's an interesting question because you've got to strike a balance between decentralization and empowering individuals to take control of their data in our circumstances versus regulating what is very, very sensitive data. I mean, so personally, I'm okay with regulation, and we're setting standards. When you're dealing with sensitive healthcare information, there needs to be controls, and there are already well-defined controls. But at the same time, one of the great things about blockchain is that it's about empowerment and decentralization. So walking that tightrope between the two is a bit of a challenge, but I think it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I think education, definitely. I mean, we pledged to connect 1 billion people by 2030. Right. So we'll have to go into countries, we'll have to work with regulators, we'll have to educate them, we have to, get to a place where, we can work together to meet our goal.
Yeah, also from our side, it's around balance. The whole thing around it is the financial systems, as I said, are not fit for purpose.
Right.
So how do we enable and empower people on the ground without being obstructed, actually, at the mid-level, but obviously making sure that we demonstrate value. And I think that's one of the great things about housing is that politically it's a very strong. There's no government in the world that isn't looking for affordable housing. So by demonstrating value, I think we can get support in terms of what we're doing and demonstrate the value of what we're doing.
So when it comes towards the sort of the building part, you guys went, well, Mobile, you went and raised, you did your white paper. After that moment, did you feel that other projects in the space were sort of keen to work with you, to participate, and for you guys to sort of self-organize and support and learn from each other?
Yeah, no, definitely. You sort of like hit the ground running and just keep your options open and look at all the different partnerships that can add value, and we can add value to them as well. So, yeah.
I think I sort of phrased that in a very leading fashion. So you guys can also say absolutely not, and it was terrible. But no, your experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As I outlined, we have worked already with partnerships. We're in ongoing discussions with others. It's all around value add. So, we really get that we've taken on a big chunk. We've bitten off a big chunk that we're attempting to do, and there's no ways that we can do it on our own, that we need as much support, partnerships, and value that we can create around that.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. I'm from a traditional farmer background where there's old school competition all the time. Everybody's a competitor. Whereas in the crypto world, it's all about decentralization, partnerships, everything's open source, and it's a very nice environment for you working in that sense.
So you guys, I think, were all here for Charles's keynote. What were your thoughts?
I think it's great, and I think one of the exciting things for me is he made an announcement And I also want to make an announcement.
Please.
Because I just wanted to say that we've just signed an agreement with the city of Beira. We've signed an MOU where they have allocated a huge portion of land for us that will enable us to build 25,000 affordable homes in the city of Beira, driving climate awareness and climate smart, because Beira is one of the most climate impacted cities in the world. So we're supporting the population of Mozambique to get that up and running in a sustainable manner.
And we'll connect them, right?
Exactly.
It's a fantastic shill over there. What about you guys? I mean, it's fantastic news, but yeah.
Exciting. I think it's exciting. I'm looking forward to 2023 and working closely with you guys. It's right in line with what we've been thinking. So, yeah, exciting times.
Yeah, it's always great to see a visionary like Charles,
Right.
who has been working on this for such a long time, and that he's still got more vision to come. There's more steps, and we're going to be very excited to be on this journey, particularly these new side chains, where I think there's opportunities for all of us to improve our business models and our functionality.
I think we were lucky that Tim and Josh followed up on Charles, since he's always a tough act to follow. So finally, as we're getting to the sort of closing 5-10 minutes, I want to talk a little bit about sort of next year and across the next sort of couple of years. So crypto moves very quickly, but do you guys have any hopes and aspirations for the direction which you hope it will go?
Well, I'd say for me, one of the things is interoperability. I mean, healthcare really is a global issue, and so I think having cross-chain functionality is one of the things that's really got to continue. And I was very excited to hear Charles talking about that as we move forward, and to me, that's one of the key things.
Yeah, I mean, from my personal view on it, definitely, I think it's given us an opportunity to create opportunities for people to have livelihoods, stable as well. So when we think about the value-added services that we want to put on our network, we're the last mile to areas that don't have normal connectivity. But then to give people that opportunity to make a living out of that. So I'm very positive for the future.
Yeah, I think for us, I think it's also around clarity on legislation. I think that's a key part, because it's so fuzzy at the moment, and it's scared to take a step forward, or to just actually, so some clarity on legislation would really be useful in terms of we know what we're seeking to achieve, but just trying to do that with making sure we're not stepping on anybody's toes.
So I wanted to broach into one final thorny topic, which is education and explaining, how blockchain technology is making these real-world impacts when you're in market. So when I moved to Ethiopia 4.5 years ago and started to talk to ministers, cabinet ministers about the power of blockchain technology, there was obviously sort of a gap between what I was saying and the sort of level at which people were trying to think about using technology. Obviously within Ethiopia, one of the major innovations is going from paper to digital. So then you start talking about how blockchain is going to take you to that next level, and you have to spend some time having that conversation. What's been your experience, Robert, talking to the Tanzanian government, the Zanzibari government, on the benefits of the shared infrastructure model which you guys are building?
Yeah, like I said, it's really education and just making them understand from their point of view. So understanding what their fears are, what the concerns are, and then translating that into an example or a discussion that they can pretty much add value to, and we explain in a way that they feel like, okay, we're getting it. You want to give us transparency, and this is how we're going to go about it, digital IDs and so on. So it's just understanding where they're coming from, and most of these governments are learning as well. So it's just meeting them to understand, okay, well, where are they and how can you explain it to them?
Guy?
Yeah, I do think there is a certain amount of misunderstanding, a certain amount of skepticism about cryptocurrency and the dangers of this, and I've had health ministers in countries say, I do not want my data for my people leaving the boundaries of this country. So What we're doing at the moment is focusing really on the outcomes and the benefits that are going to be delivered, rather than specifically saying this means that there will be a cryptocurrency going from here to here or a blockchain. And so I think we're getting very good traction when we talk about the lives that we're going to save, or the way that we are going to be able to allow people, empower people to benefit from the value of their data. And those are concrete things that governments and NGOs can relate to, rather than saying all, blockchain, cryptocurrency.
Yeah, to support that, excuse me, this time last year, I presented both to the Beira local government and to the Dutch government,
right.
And I was met with massive skepticism. As you can imagine, it was just this, this quizzical looks, these, really quite condescending, good luck with that kind of scenario.
I've seen this before.
Exactly. And the delivery, by having delivered,
right.
and people seeing it in action, all of a sudden it's become incredibly, it's 180 degrees, it's turned around, it's positive, realization that it's transformational. And I think that's what's really exciting, in that it's really transformational.
Yeah, I've often felt that, within the markets that we're talking about, the appetite is absolutely there for rapid scale transformational change. Healthy skepticism on which approach to take, but if you can sort of get that buy-in, then things can move very, very quickly. Which probably brings us on to your goals and targets. So where would you like to see you guys at World Mobile by this time next year?
So obviously we're in Zanzibar already. End of this year we want to do 225 nodes, so 1,000 nodes by end of next year, and we are already setting up in Nigeria and Mozambique. Would love those to be live as well.
Well, for us, first thing we want to achieve within the next 12 months is have a successful public sale, which is not an ideal objective at the moment in the current environment, but that's the first thing we need to get sorted. Then we want to deliver on the HIV study in Kenya. That will be a world first. That should get international recognition. And from there, leverage that and expand the footprint into other countries like Nigeria, Ghana, and also start our work with opioid addiction in the US.
Yeah, we've got 25,000 houses to build over the next to support, to fund for families to put into
work, isn't
exactly.
it? It'll be done.
We've got to support 20 families to get into 25,000 families. That's just in Beira, but obviously we also we've signed heads of agreement in Nigeria, and we're looking also to go into East Africa and possibly South Africa. So over the next 12 months.
Okay, perfect. So we're coming towards the end of our time, so I thought I'd just give you guys an opportunity if there's anything you wanted to say to the community. I know Glenn's already snuck in there with his announcement, so is there anything you guys wanted to say?
Well, I did mention the public sale, but yes, I'll mention it again. If you're interested in learning more, visit the website.
Robert?
Yeah, so just looking forward to launching our Aerostat before Christmas in Zanzibar. I think it's going to be a massive game changer for Africa, for telecommunications, and for the world.
So thank you so much, guys, for coming. I think when I started working on setting up the African operations for IO, it was very much a small group of people having chats amongst themselves, and it's been fantastic to see our community start to provide value and build businesses completely independent of IO. So thank you so much for coming, and yeah, excited to see what you guys do over the next year.
Thanks, Ron.
Thanks.
Thanks for the opportunity.